Hello, Medfield, and welcome to the newest edition of Happenings at the Town Hall. And our guest tonight, I think you probably all know, is Mike Sullivan. And he's going to tell us what's going on with the roads, the work, what's going to happen at town meeting, what's happening with the budgets. Give us an overview of what he sees coming down this fall. So, Mike, it's all yours.
Sure, Ann. Well, there's been a lot going on for so early in the fall. It seems like as soon as Labor Day came around, everything busted out all of a sudden. Of course, the big item is, I'm sure you've seen the signs all over town about the proposed 200-unit 40B at the intersection of Dale and North Meadows Road. And there was a meeting, selectmen had a meeting where the developer wanted to come and make a presentation on what he was proposing, what they were proposing, and they moved the meeting to the high school auditorium, and it was certainly a full house. And
it was more than that.
I'd say there were, most estimates seem to think there were around 750 people there.
Yeah, I would think at least that, because they were standing in the back, they were lined up in the back, they're out in the
And I talked to a
hallway.
couple of people that came and said they couldn't get in, they couldn't hear anything, so they went home. So
yeah.
I'm sure there were a few people like that. But it was an interesting proposal. They didn't seem to have a lot of facts, and they didn't seem to have a very good rationale for why they were proposing such a large development on such a small site, other than to make money.
I'm going to say.
But,
that's what they're in business for.
But our two representatives, Denise Garlick and Sean Dooley, were there.
And that was great that they were there.
Yeah, along with Senator Timothy, and they all got up and made presentations. And there was some indication that the preliminary review from DHCD, or no, from Mass Housing, was that the plan as submitted was unacceptable, and that they were going to have to revise it. Now, when you start out with 200 units, revisions can mean a lot of things. It could mean you knock off 10 units, or you knock off 120 or 170 units,
yeah.
The selectmen have authorized town council to engage a special counsel attorney by the name of Jay Talaman, who many alumni from Medfield High School may be familiar with, because Jay is a graduate of Medfield High School.
He was a good friend of one of my sons. They played sports together.
And lives in Norfolk, and but he happens to be an expert on 40B, defending municipalities from unfriendly 40Bs. So there's a lot going on in terms of research on what's being proposed, and the backgrounds of the developers and their suitability to undertake the project. There's a lot of review as to what is outside the guidelines that DHCD has established. There are guidelines as to what affordable housing projects should follow in terms of design, scale, being in scale with or compatible with the surrounding neighborhoods, and that's in the throes of it. And there's a lot of people working very hard to try to come up with some alternate solutions to meeting our affordable housing quota. We have right now probably about 140 units, but then all the units that are built to satisfy the 10% requirement get added to your housing stock, as well as all the units that have been built between 2010 and 2020 will eventually get added. So we probably need somewhere, I'd say, close to 200 units to actually get to a level where we will have the 10% going forward. You have to have a few more, because if you got just even 10% and somebody puts a subdivision of 5 houses in, then you fall below the 10%, and you are susceptible to a developer coming in and filing comprehensive permit. So we'll see what comes of that. I know there's been some discussion about expanding Tilden Village on the land that's adjacent to that. Tilden Village was originally planned as a 100-unit complex, and they only built 60. So there's talk about whether they can take the remaining land and put some additional units in there. I know Selectman Peterson has been talking about trying to put a couple of group homes in town to we need to do 22 units a year, as well as adopt a housing production plan. And the housing production plan has been adopted by both the planning board and the board of selectmen. And that was submitted to the state for approval. So once that's done, if we are able to get 22 units of affordable housing permitted, then we can, gives us a 1-year respite on the comprehensive permit filings. But then you have to do another 22 units the following year. So the idea is to try to look long range and see what we can do to come up with a sensible plan. And that could involve several things. It could involve group homes. It could involve Tilden Village expansion. It could involve some development, perhaps up the state hospital or other locations in town. But it's taken up quite a bit of time in the last few weeks, as it should, because it is an important issue for the town.
It is important, absolutely.
Yeah. So, the interesting thing these days is the presidential early voting has started October 24th, and we're getting, I'd say, in excess of 100 people a day that are coming to Town Hall to vote. Town Hall is open Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 4:30, and then on Friday, 8:30 to 1, I believe it is, for voting for the next 2 weeks. I think it's November 5th it ends. And then the election is, I believe, November 8th. So I would anticipate probably 1,000 people will have voted early voting, plus the absentee. So it's been quite interesting to see the number of people coming into Town Hall to vote
About
early.
8,000 registered voters now?
A little over 8,000, yeah, I think,
okay,
yeah.
that's what it was before,
I think
okay.
it was around 8,400, something like that. I was laughing, I read an article a couple of weeks ago about a guy from Raynham that started a new political party in Massachusetts called the Pizza Party. So, and he's already got 184 people signed up. So the Secretary of State's office has to list it as a registered political party, but I think they need 42,000 more signatures to get on the ballot. And with the current dissatisfaction with both political parties, there could be a mass defection to the pizza party. So, but it just shows you how silly things have gotten with the dissatisfaction over the election.
It's an unusual year.
Yes, yeah.
And I don't like it.
No, I don't. I think we'll all be glad to see it over with.
I think
one way or
everybody
the
will
other.
win or lose.
Yes, yeah. A lot of people think no matter what happens, it's a loss.
Well, I'm not proud of the way it's going for the country. I don't think it gives us a very good reputation.
I don't think it must. The rest of the world must think they're either laughing at us or they're scared silly. Yeah. So, but it's important to point out, in addition to the presidential election, there's other races on there for state representatives and our congressional representative. There's also 4 ballot questions on. There's a ballot question about adding a slots parlor, one more
casinos.
slots parlor in the state.
Casinos and marijuana, it's kind of fun.
Yes, there's one about animal cages, having sufficient room for the animals to stand up and turn around and spread their wings.
And charter schools.
There's one about allowing the number of charter schools that the state can grant increase from, I think, 6 to 12. And there's one, of course, for the marijuana, legal recreational use of marijuana. And that one is quite interesting because I've talked to several people who have read the text of the legislation and said that it is written very much in favor of it was written by the industry and for the industry. And, you know, I always think of marijuana not being a user as someone rolling a joint and smoking a joint, because that's the way it was when I was in college or back in the ancient times. But there's a proposal to build a 1 million square foot marijuana growing facility in Freetown, Massachusetts by some outfit out of Colorado. And it said if the recreational marijuana passes, they will be building the entire unit, perhaps even enlarging it. And it said, among the other things, they will be producing brownies or desserts.
Now you're talking my style. Anything chocolate.
Candies, lozenges, beverages. So it's going to be much more than just rolling a joint. And the problem is, it might be, you might be able to keep, adults might be able to keep the kids away from the joint stash, but are they going to keep them away from the brownie stash or the candy stash? And I think it's going to present some problems. So. But they say in the polls, it's way ahead, and the people are going to vote for it regardless. So, the political leaders at the state level all seem to be opposed to it. The governor, the speaker, the House president, or the president of the Senate is for it. The people will have their say, as they should, and it looks like it probably will pass, but the repercussions of it will be interesting to watch.
We'll have to find out.
Yeah.
I've never tried it myself, so I'm no expert.
So it's usually a big turnout. I always kid about the low turnout at town elections and the high turnout at the presidential elections. I say the presidential election is sort of like the beauty contest. Everybody shows up for it, although I don't think it's going to be much of a beauty contest this year. So we'll see. But that's has a lot of people obsessed. If you watch the news, they said people are arguing at work or can't sleep nights because they're worried about the outcome of the election. It's just not like any other election I can remember. There's the nastiness of it.
Absolutely.
And the lack of discussion of the issues and the personality discussion. So, but we'll see. Fortunately, it'll be over in 2 or 3 weeks, and we won't have to talk about it for another, I was going to say 4 years, but it seems like a month after the election's over, they start talking about the next election. So, speaking of politics, we're starting to get ready for our begin preparations for the next town meeting. The assessors have not yet set the tax rate. They expect to do that by the end of November.
Expected to go up?
It will go up, but not as much as they thought it would. I think they ended up with a little bit more new growth and a couple of other factors, so that it might be. When they do the first 2 bills are estimates, and they try to peg the estimate so it'll be the same as the actual tax bill, but sometimes it's a little different. I think if anything, it may drop slightly. I have no idea how much, but yeah, from what you paid at the estimate, it'll still be higher than last year, but I think it's about 3%. So, and we're starting to look at next year's budgets. We have the annual budget meeting, which you're very familiar with, on November 1st, where the budget package is distributed and we start talking about budget guidelines for the departments to follow. I think it's going to be a tight year. The state revenues are predicting to fall short of the estimate for this year by about $350 million, I believe is the figure they've been tossing around. So that doesn't portend too well for next year.
Yeah.
If they're running $350 million short this year. It doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of new revenue left at the state level. And of course, you know, we generate about 1.2, 1.3 million in revenue from the 2.5% allowable increase and the new growth, and that's about it. And between pension and health insurance, and there's another issue, you know, I don't know what's going to happen with the health insurance rates this year. If you listen to the radio, they're talking about on these, what do they call them, the marketplace, the place that was set up under the Affordable Health Care Act, that the rates are going up about 20 to 25%.
That's what I've heard.
So I don't think that'll go up that high on the town's plans, but even if they were to go up a third of that, that would still be a problem for us. In pension, you know, a lot of these pension systems have been using unrealistic assumptions about rates of return, and it's going to get them in trouble. It's going to create a real backlog down the road. Norfolk County, which is one of the two pension systems we belong to, in addition to Mass Teachers Retirement, is using an 8% rate of return on its investments, which to me seems totally unreasonable.
It does.
I'm hearing 6% may be too high, that you need to be down around 4 or 5%. The problem is if they go to a 4 or 5% rate of return in their pension funding calculations, it's going to skyrocket the annual pension assessments. On the other hand, if they don't, it's going to skyrocket the deficit. And Mass Teachers Retirement, the last figures I saw on that, that's funded by the state. Any teacher's pension or school administrator's pension comes out of a state retirement.
Has there been any talk about eliminating pensions all through government? Teachers, police, fire, town hall, everybody?
There has been, but there's very little progress on it, and because it's, you know, they're a major political voting bloc, and they vote. You know, the
union people.
The union, they certainly are going to be out there in force, and the
so
legislators
many
are
businesses aren't doing the pension
changes.
plans anymore.
Yes, yeah. Well, see, they can pick up and move. A city or town can't pick up and move. And if you depend on the services, you know, you shut down the transportation system, or you stop issuing, you know, shut the medical system or the welfare system, there's going to be a lot of ruckus raised over it. So where corporations say, well, you don't like it, we'll move our plant to Tennessee or Kentucky. So they've been able to get away with it much more. And the problem is, while this problem's been building, the legislature has been voting more and more stuff. You know, they vote early retirements for this group and
I don't like the early retirements at all.
No, it's costing, not just in the pension, it costs on health insurance.
Absolutely.
Because you're paying for two people, the retiree
The
and the
early,
person who takes
somebody
their
retires
place.
at 45 and somebody else takes their place.
The tea is awful. You know, I don't know why the public hasn't risen up and, you know, the legislature, you know, they'll tell you, oh, we've solved the pension problem. They haven't solved the pension problem. It's gotten worse, if anything, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So,
Well, when you're talking about retirement, I wonder if you think this particular person might be ready to retire at some point.
oh God, that's a very old picture. If
I don't know if you can see it on the camera. I hope you can see it. Anybody out there recognize this person?
Johnny, we hardly knew you.
A friend of mine gave it to me the other day,
Really? Wow.
and we were trying to figure what year it was.
I don't know. It certainly was a thin year. and a dark ear in terms of the hair color. So
You're brown hair. I'm trying to remember the last time I saw you with brown hair.
yes, yes, that was before I went blonde.
It was fun. She gave me some other pictures too.
Really? Yeah.
And one with me sitting with the Mildred Willis and her husband John. So we didn't know if there was something at town hall or
okay. Yeah.
what it was. It's hard to
There
look back
might
and
have been
see.
someone's retirement party or something like that too. Could
I have
been,
no
yeah,
idea.
yeah.
But I just hope the camera got that one because I think it's kind of fun. Would you like to take that home with you?
Oh, sure, I'd love to. Yes.
You're going to show it to the town hall?
Yes. Yeah.
You promise?
They would see if they recognize me.
I thought that was Jean Harding that gave it to me, by the way. You can yell at
okay,
Jean.
Yes. Yeah. Sure. Well, tell her thank you.
Okay,
It was nice to know I once was that young and that thin.
And I look pretty young in the one she gave me too. It was nice to see it. So a lot of road work going on in Medfield?
Yeah, well, a lot of interesting things. I don't know how many people use the Dover Road, but the town of Dover sent out a notice to their residents that, the town of Millis, that they were going to be closing down Dover Road for 9 weeks in order to put a water main in.
Wow, that'll change things.
And so we called them up and said, maybe you should have let us know because there's about 8,000 cars a day that use that as a really commuter road. Mm-hmm. So we set up a meeting and they came over and met with us, and it's not great, and but it's at least there's some order to it, and
Okay.
traffic's moving along. And then that bridge that crosses over between Medfield and Millis, between Dover Road and our Bridge Street, our West Street, it's deteriorated a little bit. It's got a little rusting problem, nothing too serious yet, but it needs attention. So the state tells us it's not a state bridge, it's a town bridge.
Oh,
And
that's too bad.
although we're told by some people that most of the bridges that go between two towns over a river are considered state
That's
bridges.
what I had thought too, yeah.
We're trying to look into that. And our reps are working and trying to come up with something on that end. It isn't an immediate crisis, but it does, the longer you wait, the more expensive it's going to get to fix it. And then we applied, there was the governor had funds for a small bridge repair program in the budget this year, and our new public works director applied for funding under that program to repair the Phillip Street Bridge down near Redgate Farm. And the inspectors from the state came out to take a look at it when they received the application to evaluate it, and they shut the bridge down.
jeez.
They said there was too much deflection. It's a wood bridge, and they said there was too much deflection in the beam, so they've shut that down. That's the bad news. The good news is they tell us that will move us way up on the priority list for funding. So maybe if we could put up with having it shut down for a while. We had scheduled to replace the bridge this year with our own funds.
How many cars a day use it? Any idea?
Not a lot, but there are, you get heavy trucks that use it, construction vehicles or oil delivery trucks or whatnot. And I don't think it's a real danger to a car going over there, but if you got a heavy truck, it could have been a problem. So we're hoping that we will get a quick response on our funding application.
Yeah.
We had intended to do that this year anyway, but we would have planning to do it with our Chapter 90 highway funds. When this program came along, it made sense to apply for that and see if we could get funding through that particular program. I think there's $50 million the state appropriated to repair small bridges. So we'll see. And then they were doing some repair work this week on 109, patching and in preparation for some paving work they're going to try to do, and that tied up the traffic a little bit on Tuesday, so it was backed up all the way back to the center. So.
Oh, wow.
But by Wednesday they had finished up and it was in pretty good shape. Now I don't know what will happen when they go to do the paving, but I think the chief talked to Public Works Department. They're going to try to not start the work until after the morning rush goes through.
That's a good idea, yeah.
And finish up before the evening rush comes back. So it's, and then the public safety building, we should talk about that because the open house, and I know a lot of people are curious to see what the inside of that building looks like now that they have seen the outside. And there's generally been a favorable response. I know when they first started, people were referring to it as the Taj Mahal. But I think once they saw the completed building, many people are marked on how attractive it is and what a nice addition it is to the sort of the edge of the downtown. But the open house is going to be October 29th from 9 to 12. That's this coming Saturday. And they're going to also have a ribbon cutting. I think the ribbon cutting is going to be at 9:30. So anybody that would like to see how the interior of the building came out, I would encourage them to go down and take a look. And that project went very well. It came in right on schedule. It was scheduled for completion on substantial completion on October 7th. And they are pretty well there. Mm-hmm. And they did add solar for the flat roof over the fire department truck area.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, so that still remains to be done, and there are a few punch list items, but by and large, the project came in under budget. They expect to turn back several $100,000 that they did not need to expend because there were so few change orders. And I've never seen a construction project since I've been in the town that went as smoothly as that.
Oh.
It's a credit to the building committee. I think they did a terrific job working with the two chiefs, and the two chiefs spent endless hours deciding the minutiae of where the plugs go, where the desk goes, where, what the color tile was going to be, what the configuration of the rooms was going to be, mm-hmm. And it paid off because it went very smoothly. The architects were very happy. They were very happy with the architects. In fact, so happy that the architects were hired by Westwood now. They're doing the Westwood Police Station. And the project manager, everyone was very satisfied with. So it just overall was a remarkably smooth.
That's great.
Yeah. Even I said to the chiefs, you guys even lucked out on the rain, because they were worried about seeding, that they were going to have to seed and they were going to have to water it or the grass would die. Well, they seeded it, and then they put the water in, and they were able to water it on Thursday because that was their odd even day for watering under the ban. And then they got several little rainstorms after that, and they were the perfect rain. It was like a light mist. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a heavy rain that would wash out and erode so the grass came in really beautifully, and the landscaping is very nice. So Garden Club is going to do a little, the memorial garden out front. They're going to replace that. That was taken down during construction, so they're going to come in and replace that. So. And it also, one of the things that project did that people don't think about, that was in addition to the public safety building, because they were losing the parking lot where all the Dale Street staff parked, that gravel parking lot on Dale Street, they built the parking lot on the other side of Dale Street between the Fast Center and Dale Street School, which really turned out very nicely.
It makes more sense.
Yes, yes.
You don't have all the teachers crossing the street all the time.
Yes, yes. And
a lot more sense.
you know, it's less likely to have injuries from somebody falling because they're walking on a smooth pavement rather than gravel. And so that was another added benefit from it that people don't think about. And from what I understand, the project came in quite a bit lower than other projects, similar projects that were bid right after us. So we got the low interest rates was one of the reasons we went for it now rather than waiting. And we also got very good construction price. So.
That's great.
So hopefully we're done with projects for a while, although
I hope so.
I think Park and Rec would still like to see a new building, and so that remains to see how that fits in the schedule. And schools have applied for a addition to the Wheelock School, I believe is how they're handling it, rather than building a new school to replace the Dale Street School. They are looking at trying to see if they can do an addition to the Wheelock School, which makes a lot of sense, I think. But that hopefully will be about 4 or 5 years away, and by that time we should have paid off a lot of our existing debt. So we've had a lot of debt, a lot of capital projects the last few years, but I think the worst of it's behind us. Now we have to concentrate on taking care of the buildings we built, because we spent a lot of money building them, and you want to maintain them so that they don't fall apart. And part of the things we're doing to assure that is we combine the school facilities manager with the town energy manager. We've had an energy manager that was funded through a state grant for the last 2 years. School facilities manager left, our energy manager left, so we combined the two positions into one, and hired a facilities manager who is starting full-time next week. A guy by the name of Jerry McCarty, who is the facilities manager for the town of Weston, but actually lives in Walpole, so it'll be a much better commute for him, certainly.
Oh, yeah.
And he came very highly recommended, and I think he'll do a outstanding job maintaining the buildings, and we're hoping that by maintaining them well, we will be able to cut the costs, save on energy costs, save on electricity costs from lighting and whatnot. But we'll see. The high school field was finished, field and track, and they had a ribbon cutting for that a couple of weeks ago. It certainly came out very nicely, and it, I guess it should for $1.7 million, but it really is a much safer playing field for the kids to use.
It's nice to have a grandson that plays.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
nice.
You only one?
Well, I don't have many grandchildren left in Medfield
You're
now.
in between a few.
I have several in college.
Yes.
Yeah, just 2 left in the public schools.
Yeah, yeah. But in any event, that came out very nicely. And the boiler for the Wheelock School, 2 boilers actually that were replaced. That project's finished. So, been a lot going on this year. It's been a busy year. So, I keep saying when these things are going to slow down so I can clean off my desk and retire. So.
The new president will fix it all.
Yes, yes. I don't know, will they have time when they're solving the world problems? So.
If you listen to them talk, it sounds like they think they're going to do it.
Well, one of the things as a local official that burns me up is they're worrying all about solving all the problems of the world, and then you see Flint, Michigan ran into a water problem.
Absolutely.
And what do they want to do? They want to throw them in jail. I said they've got these 2-bit dictators all over the world that they're throwing money out left and right, building airports and rebuilding their infrastructure, and they ignore local government until there's a crisis, and then they act as if they're going to solve the crisis when they're the ones that have caused the crisis by their overspending policies and inability to pay the bills.
Too bad. It's too bad we're not running the country, Mike. We'd be great.
That's right, yes.
We have
yes.
everything perfect.
Well, I don't know about that, and you say we. Maybe me. Or maybe you. What do they say? Everybody is in favor of a dictatorship as long as they're the dictator.
I can see that. I can understand that theory totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why we need a democracy, as messy as it is, I guess. I just wish it'd get a little less messy. So.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
I think that's why so
So
many
what do you
people will be relieved when this is over.
So what are you hearing about the town? I hear you're on a new committee for senior housing.
I'm on a new senior housing committee. We just had one meeting so far, so we're just laying the groundwork for seeing what people want. I I used to be a real estate broker, as you know, so I called out the local offices and spoke to people in each one of the offices in Medfield. What their people want? Why?
Yeah.
What reasons did they have for leaving Medfield? How can we keep them here? How can we entice others, et cetera? So that's what we're pretty much grounding on, is trying to find out.
Yeah.
And what kind of housing would they want?
Yeah.
Would the housing seniors want?
Yeah, it's a big problem because I can go through dozens of people that have left, either go to Franklin or Norfolk or the Cape or whatever. It's a shame. And many of them would like to have stayed here, but just felt that it wasn't the type of housing that they were looking for, or if there was, it wasn't at a price range that they were able to pay.
Yeah,
So,
there were two main reasons I got from the brokers. That was one, and the other one was taxes.
yeah,
They could get a newer, better suiting house, more suitable house,
yeah.
at a less price in another town and pay fewer taxes.
In a community with fewer children to educate.
Well, that's
Is
why
one
the
of
taxes are less.
Yes, yeah. So that I often laugh at people that put a bunch of kids through the school system, then when the kids are out, say, oh, the taxes are too high, and move out of town.
I'm still here.
You are, yes. But there's a lot that have, as soon as the kids are out of school, bang, they're out of here, sell the house to someone else with children, and the taxes keep right
Lack
up
of
there.
transportation was another thing only a few people mentioned.
Yeah,
Lack of public transportation, that was a problem.
yeah.
For
yeah.
several people, it was because their kids had moved out of town, had moved to different states, and they wanted to be near a family as they got older.
Yeah, and
They wanted
I
to have
found,
family nearby, and I can understand
yes,
that too.
And I found the opposite is true. I know several older people who moved here to be near their children, so that works two ways too.
As
So,
it does. But then we need to have the suitable housing, so it's a vicious circle here.
And there seems to be a trend too where some people think that urban living is the way to go, and they want to move into a condo in the city, and so they can go out to restaurants and theaters and use mass transit.
Right.
So we'll see how that works. in
There's
the
no
long
perfect
run.
house for everybody, but the one I have, the one I bought suits me perfectly.
Yes.
Would it suit everybody? No.
Yeah.
So it suits me, and so that's why we needed to study and
Yeah.
talk about it.
Yeah, you were very lucky to find a situation like that. That was really a good find on your part. So I guess we've probably just about talked ourselves out,
Okay.
although I'm sure when we turn off the cameras, we'll find there's a lot of things that we didn't touch on, but
And we'll
there's
hear about
always,
it.
there's always next month.
They will always call and say, hey,
Yeah.
you forgot to mention this. I'm going to have Scott McDermott, the moderator, is going to come in a couple of months
Oh, good,
in
good.
preparation for town meeting. I thought that might be good to see.
Sure.
I'd like to see him in here.
He'd be a good one, you know, maybe the new public works director.
Now, he
would
told
be
me he
good
wanted to
come in
get grounded a
sometime.
little bit first, Mo did.
Yeah.
And then he'd like to come in.
Yeah,
But he said it was too early now when I spoke to him.
yeah, he's got to
Ken
get it.
Feeney was in, so
Yep.
I think it's great to have them in.
And then have you had the superintendent in? Superintendent of schools?
No, we haven't.
He'd be an
I
hour,
should do that.
So, yeah.
Jeff is a nice man.
Yes, he is, yeah. And he could give you his take on where the schools are going to be going and what the future is there. So,
Okay, well, we'll just see if we can improve, make it perfect this time, just like the rest of our lives, right?
that's right, yes.
But thank you out there for watching happenings at the town hall. And we will be tuning in with Mike again in another month, and the election will be over. There will be jubilation through the streets as it ends, I think. But thank you for watching Medfield TV. I appreciate it very much. And again, don't forget who this man is. And make sure you mention it to Mike when you see him on the street.
What was that movie? Those Were the Days, my friend.
Well, I hope you enjoy the picture.
Yes, they will. And thank her very much for me. That was nice too.
What's nice of Jean.
Yes.
And thank you all for watching Medfield TV. Appreciate it. And keep tuned in.
The preceding was a production of Medfield TV.